Sweet.
Oh God, it's never a dull day with you.
It's gonna be a good day, man. Man, it's like 65 degrees, man. I'm living it up right here, man. I'm sitting looking at a lake. It's great. This is how the other side lives.
Are you in Nashville?
I'm in Franklin. Nashville's weird. We went there to a furniture shop today, and it's a city, so they got masks on and stuff. Like, you go anywhere out in Franklin, it's like nothing's happening. I mean, the gyms are open, everything's normal, and then you drive like 15 minutes north, and Nashville, you know, it's like, you know, the stores they're open up tomorrow, so tomorrow's their open day. But yeah, we've been open for the last 2 weeks, kind of. But I don't think we ever really closed down out here. I think everybody kind of did whatever they wanted. The cops weren't enforcing things. It is what it is. It's the South.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely different in Illinois. That is for sure.
Illinois, man, you just grab your ankles and let them do what they want. Out here, we got guns. Aren't I right, though?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It is. Hey, you ever wonder, like, you watch some of the stuff that goes on, like New York City straight up said, we're not allowing you to protest. If they would have said that out here, everybody would be there with an AR on their chest, ready to rock.
I would have. Yeah.
I would have been there with you.
Yes. I'm not allowed to protest. I'll be like, that's it. No. Yeah. No.
I feel you, man. I feel you. So how you guys doing, man? How you weathering this? You're close too, right, Travis?
Yeah, I'm in North Carolina. Stayed over. So yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. You can't do too much.
We live on a farm, so it's not that bad. We just play on the farm all day, and most of my work's online, so not much has changed other than my athletes. I have to coach them on Zoom. That's kind of gay, but other than that, do what I gotta do.
I feel you. You know what?
Yeah,
we've adapted.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Scary. It's scary that we've adapted so quickly. I know.
It's scary that we've adapted to the government saying we can't leave our house, and we've actually done it. That's what scares me. What scares me is how quickly we just bent over. We're like, cool, guys, there's a virus. Even though the country was founded during a pandemic, even though there were 80,000 people died of the flu in 2017, nobody cared. But now it's just, hey, there's something more to this that we don't know. Something crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about, man.
But I want to thank both of you for taking some time. I know both of you have families, so I appreciate it. I'm not a dad yet, so I don't have kids. So I have 2 dogs, and that's really what it comes down to.
So you really had nothing. This has been nothing to protect. This sucks worse for you then.
Yeah. It's interesting. It really is right now.
Are you single?
Bro, what do you –
Nope.
He's not.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah, that would really suck. If you're a single, boy, that would get old,
Yeah, it's well,
bro, you'd be stuck with like phone sex.
Yeah.
It'd be like cyber sex. Like, that's all you get.
You'd be tired of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His arm would be tired.
Yeah, well, thankfully my wife can still work, so it still works out, obviously, with all this shit going on. At least there's, I say, a source of income in that regards. But
what do you do?
I own a performance gym in the town that Mark used to live in St. Charles, Illinois.
I lived in the poor neighborhood. I lived in Elgin, man. I'm not up to your level, man. That's why I had to move.
Here we go.
I lived in Elgin, man. I lived on the other side of the train tracks.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Not now. I've seen your house. Not now.
Yeah.
No, I'm like the Jeffersons, man. I moved on up, came back south, I can't change the north, man. I can't live there. I can't do it. It. It's just not in my blood. At the end of the day, I'm a LA guy who I belong in the South.
An LA guy that belongs in the South. I see that. After reading your tweets, I agree. You belong in the South.
Oh, I do, man.
Sure.
I would get arrested and murdered in New York or LA. It wouldn't go right. It wouldn't go.
Dude, that one you posted today of that lady who I guess the press secretary, she just laid it down on those dudes. I mean, you have to admit, even if you're liberal, you guys say that's cool. I mean, you have to. Like,
The
if you
fact
don't,
that
you're just hating. You know?
what's really crazy is their questions are so predictable that she
Yeah,
literally had that on. She didn't have to shuffle through papers. It was right on top.
because you knew. Yeah. Like,
I
that was
loved it.
so awesome. And those the people, they didn't know what to say. They're like, you got me. Yeah. You know what I mean? You have nothing to say. She's like, peace.
It was
Mic drop.
amazing. It was amazing. I mean, look, I'll recognize a mic drop on both sides of the aisle. And that was one of those where
Absolutely.
you're just like, wow, that was that. Because even like the left, I'll point out when they have a good, like, oh, got him. I'm like, dude, that was good. That was
Yeah.
good. But you know, it's been more from the right lately because I think that they've just gotten really good at sniping. You know, like they have better. The right has better memes.
Yeah.
I think they're just funnier people, and it was funny to watch. But so we got I know Bryce has a plan here, so we're actually doing a professional
Oh, my
meeting.
bad.
It's all good.
Let's go,
I got
Bryce.
you, Bryce. I got you. We'll be here all day.
Oh, I figured that after hearing stories. So I know what I think it was. Mark, you were the first person to sponsor Travis. I think it was.
And
He
he
was.
saved my life. He saved
Yep,
everybody's life.
I remember that. I remember that story.
I think I
No.
told you that story in your gym. That's how crazy that story was. That story I tell to everybody. Great story.
Oh,
He said, boy, he was the first one to believe in me. It was the best. It was like, can't even tell you. Like, as a guy who was on up and coming, and like, all the people were saying no, 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 and then you had a guy like that wasn't even in the powerlifting world that said yes, and I'm like, sweet.
I always like to go against the grain a little bit. I don't follow other people's modelings, so to speak. So it was
Obviously.
Travis was perfect though, and he's the Chuck Norris of powerlifting. He once took on an army of 20 Samoans. It was amazing.
Two, but 20's cool. Yeah. So. Lane, my man Lane, he had written a few checks he couldn't cash that day, but yeah. But his buddies could cash them. Yeah.
He had the Secret Service, man.
Bryce, are all these other people on here too? Is like Leanne Blinn on here?
Yep.
Oh,
This is awesome. Yeah, I didn't know all these people were going to be on here. This is great.
hi, Travis.
Yeah. So
I'm on.
What's
look
up,
at this.
Leanne? Yeah.
How are you? I've been
I'm
trying to get on
good.
for weeks, and I'm stuck on stupid work Zoom calls. So,
Oh, well, I didn't know all these people. I thought Mark might be on. I didn't know I don't know Steve Walsh, but Leanne is like a hero.
I don't know about that.
But in regards to this, obviously, Travis, thank you. Mark, thank you. But when it comes to doing this, so Travis, and I've already talked to Mark about it. It was just a way to allow coaches, I'd say, easier access to information, as well as learning from like yourself. I've asked Mark way too many questions over the last year. And the same thing, being able to, call time with him. So it's I appreciate your guys' time, especially with all that's going on as well.
Appreciate you having us.
Yeah, man.
Oh, absolutely. You guys are reliving your glory days right now, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That was
You can say
definitely
that.
my glory days.
It's been all downhill since then, man.
It sure has. 100%.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But I think for obviously, I think I'll say everyone probably knows both of you. I'm just kind of the loner, kind of the third wheel right now, so to speak. But in regards to obviously, Mark, what certifications do you even have now? I can't keep track of them.
Honestly, the two I really like the most, other than the experience I have, is I really think Exos has done a lot for me. I've done a lot of workshops and things, but Exos is one I can really cling to. It's more of an athletic performance based. It's less of a strength training, less of an NSCA. I do have CrossFit, but we're not going to say that here. I really, the thing is, I'm one of those guys where even if I don't love something, I want to actually learn about it, so I can understand why people like and don't like it. And CrossFit for me, go just on a tangent, what was great is that they actually had better applicable training from the demonstrative side of things. Their actual workshop in teaching how to do a clean and teaching how to do a snatch was phenomenal. Where CrossFit falls apart is when you actually do it. And they actually, in the course itself, again, it was better than any workshop or any exos I've ever attended, even in university level. Like, their instructors were amazing. But once you got out there and you started doing the WODs, that's when people started breaking their backs. So it's a great system in theory, but in practice, there are limitations. So, I'd say exos would be what I'd actually put my name behind. Again, I don't have near the qualifications of Travis or even yourself. More of an application kind of guy. Took a bunch of workshops, been around the world a long time, and just well-read on the subject, and actually have coached youth athletes. So that would be me, not near your guys' level.
And then Travis you're a whole different world.
Well, yeah. I'm USA weightlifting senior international coach, so it's like the highest level. I guess the reason I love USA weightlifting is because you can definitely pay for the first 2 levels, but then the next 3 you have to earn. So it's about the amount of athletes you put out. And the last one, you have to put people on Team USA, multiple people. So that's kind of cool. Whereas most of them, you just buy them, and anyone can buy them. But you can't buy a senior international. You got to earn that. And so and then I'm working on my PhD now in human performance, and going back to school at 47. That was, I don't know what I've gotten myself into, but I'm in it. So
I can't believe you're 47. Holy crap.
Old man.
Damn.
No shit.
Wow.
I know, man. Wow. Yeah.
That's like dad age, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I just took my first test. Well, my first finals in 25 years. Can you believe that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
oh gosh.
And dude, I'm smarter now. Isn't it weird? Like in my class, in my exercise physiology class, I'm like the top student. And like that's never been. I've always been good student, but I've never been looked at as like the guy in class. It's just so weird. It's a whole different persona. But I mean, I enjoyed it. My professor was cool, and he made physiology seem awesome, and so. I definitely absorbed it a lot more now than I did. I didn't care in college. I was just trying to get women and play football and lift weights, So now I actually care and, try to apply it, and I would write about it. It's just I've learned a whole lot more about learning now that I'm older. So
makes total sense. I know in regards to, I'd say, all of this, when it comes to VBT, what are some of the main questions that you always hear?
I mean, I guess like, where do you start? Like, where, I mean, that's a simple one. You just want to take you want to get a velocity, like force velocity profile. So, like, what end of the spectrum are you? Like, are you a guy that, like, you're super strong, but yet at 60%, you're still moving slowly? Well, then you could spend some quality time on speed and it would help. Or do you stop at if you max out at 0.4 meters per second, then you need to spend some time in absolute strength. So anyway, figuring that out would be a great place to start. And then it's the other ones is like, what is the difference in velocity-based training versus like what Westside has been teaching, which is 100% different. It's like not even the same ballpark. And then, the other ones would be like, is it affordable? Is it applicable? Like, how do you implement it? So there's a bunch of questions, but really now I feel like we're starting to do a good job at like making it seem simple. And plus now it's it's pretty affordable. $500 is affordable.
Yeah, like one of our sponsors, they're Flex Stronger from GymAware. It's what, $500?
That's who I'm talking about. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. They're my sponsor, and I love them too. Not as much as Mark, but I love them. So, they weren't there when nobody else was there. They're there now, but I appreciate them though. I appreciate them.
But in regards, I've just read what I just read. I think it was the MASH method, MASH blueprint. Missing one more, and then I read all of them, and I'm rereading them again. But
I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I met Crystal at Joe Ken's seminar last year at his house.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So I was going to come by and lift, but I ended up going out to dinner with a family friend.
Right.
But in regards to I'd say your MASH blueprint or all your systems, where is let's take, Cammie and Thomas, for example.
My
where,
kids.
Yep. Well, and they're both freaks.
Yeah.
They're weird.
Look where it comes from.
Yeah.
But now, in regards to that system, can you utilize it for someone that is what? Cammie's 13?
She's 14, just turned 14.
14? And Thomas is what, 12?
12. Yep.
Can you utilize that system if they have the correct base of development?
Are you talking about velocity-based training, or are you talking about the MASH system?
MASH system.
Yeah. It's definitely applicable to anyone, because there's lots of different ways to go about things, and you're going to meet people wherever they are. Like I use the same protocols if I'm training like a 60-year-old accountant. I'm going to just won't be doing snatches and clean jerks probably, but I'll be doing a squat, and I'm still going to do I'm still probably going to use the different elements of squatting, like undulating, periodization. If their goal is to get stronger, it just and if their goal is to get more muscular, I'm probably still going to use that, because a lot of studies have shown that undulating periodization will lead to more hypertrophy. So I would say meet the person wherever they are. So it's pretty broad, that question. Until you become an elite weightlifter, then it's a little bit more narrow, or become an elite powerlifter, it's a little bit more narrow. And then for strength and conditioning, it depends on the sport. But it's pretty narrow. If you're an elite athlete, there's just some tweaks. Like if you're rotational in nature, you might do more rotation. But a lot of stuff would be the same.
Yeah, and it's because I read it, and obviously I love it. We use it at the school I worked at, and it's done wonders. But because it's something that Mark and I always talk about is you get the flack, or lack of better terms, the bullshit from other people in the sense of when should youth athletes lift?
Oh God, my favorite.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've gotten in some battles over that, and
yeah,
just my opinion on that is usually nature takes its course. Usually a kid, my 7-year-old, there's no way, even under the best environment, he could ever take instruction and perform a lift. If your kid can do that, that's great. But my opinion is always, as soon as emotionally and physically ready to receive instruction. And then another thing is, you don't just put them under a 135-pound squat. There are qualifying lifts. So when you say, my big fear when we go out and say kids can lift is that and I've seen these guys at Export right by Bryce's facility, these dads take their kids in at 14 years old, and they teach them enormously wrong movement patterns. They don't have the core strength to be able to get those lifts. And I see so many potential injuries or long-term movement. People don't understand movement pattern development is key in youth athletes. If you look at my kids and their deadlift form, it didn't start out perfect, but through the years we've improved it. 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree. The first part of the lift, they're obviously not gonna, extend their knees at the same time as their, upper body. They're not gonna have the perfect form. But over time, you make these adjustments and you correct. My fear is that when we say kids can lift at a young age, is that you get really unqualified parents hurting their kids, and that hurts everybody, including the kids.
Yeah,
right.
And it's
100%.
I get it all the time, and even with people that have questions, you look at baseball, look at football. You're manipulating an object to create force. So I mean, a baseball bat, it's a weight. It has weight to it.
That's my point always.
And oh, go ahead, Mark.
What about?
If you want to increase injury, just run 13 times body weight each strike of the foot. I mean, that's like me that's like over Travis's best ever deadlift times body weight, 13 times body weight. Were you say you're 200 pounds? That's a 2,500 pound deadlift. What? So think about the force generated.
Yeah.
And you're deadlifting once. you're deadlifting maybe 3 reps. I keep my youth athletes pretty low rep because I think their motor skills aren't. You get higher rep, that's when form starts breaking down. But you get one good lift with 2 times body weight versus running 800 steps. Come on. How are you going to compare that?
One time I had a parent get on to me. I had their daughter, who was a soccer player, doing battle ropes. And they're like, if you're going to hurt I would rather her do plyometrics.
Oh my.
I was like,
Oh my.
man, ma'am, with all due respect, have you done the math on what you're telling me right now? It's making no sense. The battle rope's gonna hurt your daughter. I'm like, and then I was just like, look, maybe I'm not the coach. Like, thank God I've been in a financial situation for several years now to be able to be like, this is not working for either. Go find somebody else. The battle rope. I'm like, yeah. And like on Twitter, you battle so much where people are like, oh, you're going to hurt someone doing a clean and jerk with the bar. Yet that same person will post, a video of their son playing, tackle football at 7 years old, smashing into another kid. I'm like, are you stopping to think about what you're saying before you say it? Or are you just throwing up? Yeah. Anyway.
And that's why
I
think
that we're still talking about
guys like you do better in almost private settings because I was coaching at Campton United right across the street, and the coaches understood. They got it, even though they're old school. But the parents and the board were so disconnected from reality and so hard-headed. And it was to the point where if a kid got like an injury during a game, they'd find a way to blame it on what I did. And I'm like, wait a second. So you're telling me that something I did Wednesday hurt him at the game on Saturday. And that's what we're dealing with. So it's one of those things where it's a battle that's worth fighting, though, because you look at how far training's come. We get back to the velocity training, and I actually really love the concept of it. In practice, I think it's a little more detail-oriented when you're dealing with groups, a little harder to be able to implement.
It is.
Extremely hard. But I do believe that velocity training, we've done it in some fashion for years. And that's what's really cool. We've always had, you look at even powerlifters, even going back to Westside, Travis, what's really cool is they've been doing the speed lifts, the velocity training. They called it something different. And
Dynamic.
I think it's exactly. I think it's a great complement to the old school type, force. Because at the end of the day, when you're running, you're generating force against the ground. Theoretically, the more force you can generate in a hex bar deadlift or a similar lift, the more power you'll have striking the ground repeatedly to increase the speed. So I love velocity training because it does, in my opinion, this could be science-based or not, if you think about it, you're conditioning your fibers to fire.
Right.
And I love that.
Right. And you're doing, and like another thing, like if you're in high school and you're coaching a bunch of if you could find a way to implement it in high school, it would be great because then you could say, look, you guys can do a max 3-rep max from blocks on the clean as long as you stop at 1.2 meters per second. Then you avoid any kind of potential injuries that might happen. Like the only injury I've ever seen personally is like when someone's trying to clean too much and they get stuck with their elbow hitting their knee and then they hurt their wrist. But if you implemented the 1.2, then you end that too. Just stop it well before. Or like I like velocity, you could be in season. And like where a lot of people, the biggest mistake out there is like they train, and then season starts and they stop. And so then by the time the end of the season comes, you're right back to square one. And so, but like if you use velocity, you could train throughout the year and you could like still see progress without trying to even go anywhere near like a 1RM. You could just say, look, every 6 weeks we're going to test your 85% for one and see how fast it is. So if it's either staying the same or getting faster, you're still seeing progress, or at least you haven't lost anything. So there's ways, there's so much you can do with velocity to quantify things. So then if a parent comes to you and be like, oh, you're going too heavy, I'm like, we haven't gone past 85%. I mean, like, and you can quantify, and like parents always love. I tell you what, here's outside the box, like. The reason why velocity is awesome is because parents love gadgets. They just do. Like I bought a what's it called, a Vertimax simply because I knew parents would be like, "Oh, what's this? So cool. Now I'll let you train my athletes." I'm like, "All right, whatever. Yeah, I'll buy a Vertimax so you'll just get out of here and let me train your kid and get them better."
Yeah, you use them once a month, but it's there.
If that, man, if that. So like, but
Yeah.
whatever it takes for the parent to think, "Oh, this place is cool." We even have ladders just so the parents thinks it's cool, but we never use them ever. And so like, as long as whatever the parents, whatever you need to see, man, but just, I promise you, your kid will get better. Just go home and I'll handle it. But
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's why I think when you look at the overall thing, a lot of trainers they subscribe to philosophy, but I've seen Bryce's programs, I've seen what you do, and the one thing you guys do that's exceptional is you offer a bunch of different strategies and you offer a bunch of different methodologies because as we learn throughout time, every methodology has some benefit. Like I said, I learned a lot from CrossFit, which I could have gone in there and just made fun of them
yeah,
for 3 days straight, but
Yeah.
honestly you go in there, you have an open mind, and you can learn. Like I learned ways to teach the snatch that I never knew before. Their way of instructing how a beginner learns how to do a snatch, and even the regression to a med ball snatch was something I never, to be honest, I never even explored in my mind. So methodologies, that's why even if it seems ridiculous, look at it, learn about it. And that's where I think velocity training comes in. And if you're able to implement it with big groups, obviously with smaller groups, I think it's a no-brainer. With smaller groups, but if you're coaching a team of 15 to 30, I see tremendous limitations in implementing it.
Yeah.
it'd be interesting. I know with Jim Aware with the unit he's talking about, the flex, it's just the end cap. So it's pretty easy to take on and off, but the problem is
Yeah.
would be like, you'd have to trust somebody to have the app on their phone to kind of monitor the group. You'd probably need a bigger unit if you have like groups of like 30 or 40. So
Yeah.
You probably.
it would be, you would really have to be controlling your weight room.
Yeah.
So,
Have you utilized
sorry,
it
Bryce,
and
go
with
ahead.
success? Have you guys utilized it with success in your athletes measured
Oh
with
yeah.
success?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
We used a different brand before, and just being able to get the kids to understand where like the differences with a dynamic effort movement or a speed strength movement, and get kids to understand hey, you got to move 1.0 meters per second, and they're like, oh, 60%, whatever it is, and they're like, well, that's easy. I said, let's see it. Let's see if you can actually produce that kind of speed, because all the kids think they can move everything fast. But when it comes down to having that actual data in front of you, it's like, hey, you're not even close right now.
right. It teaches intent, Mark. It teaches them like when they get it, you can say, look, down, that's a meter per second. And it teaches the kids intent. You'll be like, squat it as fast as you can, and they'll be going like molasses. And in their brain, they're going fast, but they just don't get it yet. They don't have that mind-body connection.
That means you got some good athletes though that think they're gonna do it. I love that mindset because that'd be me. I would literally tear a hamstring trying to get a squat. Now I get that fast, bro. I got this.
Me too, man.
I would
Yeah.
totally. I am that kid. I am that kid 100%. That's mindset. But yeah, I really love the concept. I think we're discovering so much more in training in general, and the advances we made in the last 10 years alone have surpassed a lot of things we've done. And people say, oh, training same as it was. Absolutely wasn't. Like in the 1960s, Joe Weider went against the grain and told everybody said in sports you cannot lift because it makes you muscle bound and slow. Joe Weider wrote his 50 rules. Joe Weider's 50 rules. Remember, I did my career at Weider at the beginning.
I know you did, yeah.
And the first thing, and one of the first things was smoking causes cancer, which was out of the box at the time, believe it or not. Another was weightlifting will one day be the gateway to all sport. And he was right. He was right. And so we have come so far. Think about it. I think when I played ball, we didn't have hex bars. Like, think about it. You can't go in a serious strength training room without at least 10 hex bars in there.
No.
You look at where we've gone and how much data we've got and how many brilliant minds we have in this industry putting together such amazing things. Like strength and performance has come so far. We used to look at a football player, you'd be like, that's got to be the result of steroids. Now I look at him and I'm like, I don't know. I think that guy's running a 4.2 because he had a kick-ass coach.
Yeah, and he has
Yeah.
kick-ass genetics. Like
Yeah.
you
Oh,
put the
yeah.
two together, and then it's magic. Hey, have you looked into Omega Wave yet, Bryce?
Yes, I have. I have a little bit, and I'll be honest. Oh, did something there. Hold on. I am not too familiar with it just yet. I've read some stuff, and it seems positive. I haven't put my own thought process or grasp on it. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I love it. And so, let me tell you, so what it does, it monitors, I'm all into this athlete testing. The thing is, too, let me be full disclosure, is that, this is what I'm going to do my, PhD in. So, obviously I'm into it. But, what it does, it measures your DC brainwaves. So, you're going to, it's going to tell you what your CNS, where where your CNS is for the day. It's going to tell you, it's going to do echocardiograms. It's going to tell you where your anaerobic and aerobic systems, oxidative, glycolytic, creatine phosphate. And then it's also going to do heart rate variability. Because here's what happens. People will do one or the other and then be like, well,
Yes.
it doesn't necessarily do that well. I've heard a lot of people say heart rate variability, I can't find a match. And I agree. By itself, all it tells you is that your PNS is out of whack. Your sympathetic and parasympathetic, something is going on right there, and today is not a good day to recover from. So it's basically your autonomic nervous system. So the three together, on a daily basis, and this is, I don't know if this is for every, if you have a group of 30 or 50 kids, but it's for that elite. I will say this: it's for my athletes for sure, who are trying to make the Olympics the next 4 years. Guaranteed, it's for them, because I need to know, on a day where I'm playing a max effort day and we're going to max out, I need to know, is it something one they recover from, and another thing too, if the CNS is in the tank, it's not a good day to do technique either,
Yep.
because your brain is not functioning at a point where it can learn new movements. So
Yep.
I'm excited about that.
The crazy thing, even after your methods and just reading about PAP, it plays directly into that.
Totally. Yeah.
And
is it a good day to
Yep.
have a neuromuscular, connection? Probably not if your CNS is in the tank. It'd be a good day to just go do it'd be a good day to go hang out with Mark and do bodybuilding, is what it would. It gets your endocrine system kicked back into place, is what would happen.
Yeah. And even along with that, starting to see more doctors and practitioners, so to speak, with working on people's central nervous system. One of them that I've gone to is called Square One. And I couldn't tell you too much about it, but basically just neurological pathways that they work on, where, I was basically laying on a trainer table.
Yeah.
And I've had 9 knee surgeries. So I'm pretty jacked up in my left leg. Lift my leg up, give me pressure, to go internally, and I have to hold it, and I couldn't hold it. And then he'd do some triggers on me, kind of like RPR in a way, I believe. I know there's differences, but hopefully I don't offend anyone on that. But do a couple of triggers,
no offense,
and then do it again, and it was fine. And my squat imbalances were not as drastic. It was interesting. I don't know enough about it, but that's where a lot, some RPR and Square One and some other people I've seen do it. It's being done, but it's kind of playing along those lines of, the CNS system, the auto regulation for athletes. Obviously, I'd say part of the Omega Wave, just based on, the readiness essentially for an athlete. It was one of the weirdest but best things I've done in a long time.
I love the RPR stuff. Only thing is, I just wish it could be explained a little bit better. I think it works. I just don't think they know why, and so that freaks me out, because I need to be able to communicate that with my athletes. Be like, do this because X, and they don't do a good job of telling me why that's actually working. And so that's one of the things too I want to understand is why in the heck does that work? Like,
Yes.
is it because it's, some nerve bundle that's coming down through the chest, like.
Yeah, almost like almost like a, God, why can't I think of the word right now? Almost like you're exciting that nerve, essentially.
Yeah. And definitely that might be the case. I just would need to know, like I'm so like I'm almost to a fault. Like things have to be scientifically, based to a
Yes.
fault
Oh,
where I
yeah.
might end up missing out on something because it freaks me out because I can't explain it. And so when Mark knew me as an athlete, I was not like that. Like I was just like I was doing whatever, like I was doing post activation potentiation before I knew what it was. I just knew it worked. I knew if I went heavy with bands, took the bands off, I normally set a PR, and that's all I needed to know. Now as a coach, flip flop. Now I'm like, I gotta explain this to these guys for them to get buy-in, So.
Well, it's like even in that part of let's go. I'd say a little bit towards recovery. I remember Mark. We were I think we were out to eat one day, and he was telling me a story about was it a hamstring or ankle with the what is that thing called?
The Marc Pro?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, those are the whole stim technology they have there. And Gary Reinl, I don't know if you know of Gary Reinl, Travis.
I have a Marc Pro.
He's the anti-Iceman, man. So I met him. I don't remember how we met, but we ended up just hanging out in Vegas for an entire day. And Gary's the greatest guy ever. He's done so many things. He actually was one of the pioneers of elderly weightlifting, believe it or not. Actually the studies and everything behind it. And he went on this rampage against icing and literally got the guy who invented rice. I believe it was from Harvard or Stanford or one of those really smart universities. And he did the foreword for his book, Ice. The guy who did rice, who invented it, literally just said he was wrong and wrote the foreword for Gary's book. Gary is an absolute genius. And he explains it much better than me with the passive recovery and getting the body moved through. And the way he explains it is great. Like ice does one thing. It literally freezes in time. It stops the recovery process. What you want to do, you want to get the lymph system going and get get all the bad stuff behind it. So my daughter had one of the many success stories we've had with the Marc Pro. And my daughter had a finger injury and they told her 4 weeks. And she had to come back and play. Her keeper was down on her team. She was second string keeper. And on another team, she played forward. And literally, I called Gary and I was on a way to a business room. Like, what do I do? And literally for 2 hours, he explains to me like why to do it, where to put these electrodes. And I'm explaining it to my wife. And literally this thing healed. All the swelling was gone.
Yeah.
And it was a very bad sprain. It wasn't broken. It might've been microfractured. Literally in 2 days, she was on the field on Saturday. And so basically the parasympathetic, all the different things going on and getting injury. And we talk about the advancements in training. And that's what upsets me is that these different, Athletico and these hack friggin' wannabe physical rehab places, they don't keep up with research. They don't understand what's going on in the world. And anybody who's still icing, I'm not going to hate on them because that was the best we had back in the day, when in reality, we were hindering our athletes. And I'm not against contrast showers. I'm not against ice immersion. But what I am against is acutely icing an area.
Right.
If you ice an area too long, that causes necrosis. That causes death. So why are we doing it at all? And why would you slow down your body's natural way of clearing infection, of clearing injury? So I learned a lot from Gary on that note. But Marc Pro, I really think that is it an everyday recovery tool? And they don't even say they're against the machines that say they'll build muscle. Like that's absurd. It's not creating overload. It's creating blood flow. It's creating some involuntary muscle reaction. Marc Pro's against that. That's why I like it. Those ones selling it as get abs over. And I'm like, I just want to punch you right now.
I hate that.
I hate it so much. But you know what? For recovery, what we've learned is that everything they used to tell us, resting, icing, compression, maybe compression in some fashions, but elevation are all things that are exactly the opposite of what you want to do. And recovery, I think, is the biggest aspect we've learned. And what you were just talking about with being able to know when your athletes can do a max lift is you
Yeah.
have to have recovery on point.
I'm with you. I own a Mark Pro. I use it every single night. I tell you, who sent it to me? It was Kelly Starrett. I just got I got a hip replacement, and I put something on Twitter. I was like, man, my hip's killing me. Blah blah blah. And dude, before we had never met, messaged me like, look, do you want me to send you a Mark Pro? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I'll try it. And then he sent it, and I put it on. And look, I'm not sponsored by Mark Pro, so there's nothing I'm getting from what I'm about to tell you. And I put it on, and I slept for the first night when I put that thing on. I put it on, and within seconds, I was out. And now I use it to recover every single night. And then now Kelly and I are best friends, and now I ask him everything. And so, like, I'm with you on this ice thing. Like, I have two buddies, though, I got who I respect, who are super smart. I've got, Aaron, he's a Squat University. And then, of course, I've got Andy Galpin, who is probably one of the smartest dudes in the world. And, like, Andy talks about he's kind of pro ice sometimes. Not cute. Like you said, he does the submersion once a week. And so, but I'd like to get those two together. And whereas Aaron is 100% against it. He's like, ice, stop icing. I don't ice. And so number one, I hate cold stuff. Like being from the mountains, you'd think that I don't mind cold. I hate cold. And so I don't do it. But I would like to know, I'd like to get those two together and be like, you two go at it and let's figure this ice thing out.
I just want to listen.
Ice is extremely polarizing. I don't know if that was pun intended, but ice is one of those things where there is data showing that taking an ice bath after training inhibits your protein uptake. So it actually has anti-recovery effects. And excuse me, I think I just swallowed a bug. In post-training in individuals, it actually inhibits protein synthesis, thus decreasing your hypertrophy and decreasing and decreasing your recovery rate. So ice does have some negative implications post-workout. However, ice also does have some very, very, very great effects for the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous systems, as well as for recovery, as well as immunity. And it also increases your heart rate, acts almost like cardio, has been shown to lower long-term blood pressure, as well as acute blood pressure. So it's one of those things where it's a really fascinating subject. And I think it's one of those dose and duration type things. I'm one of those guys that really loves contrast showers, opening and closing of arteries.
Me too.
Think about it, when you're cold, your body takes all the blood and insulates your organs. Because that's what, when you get frostbite, when you watch movie Everest, their fingers fall off first. And the reason is you don't need extremities to survive. You need a heart, you need lungs, you need kidney. So your blood rushes because your body's preserving your organs. But then when it heats up, your body's like, okay, guys, emergency's over. So it floods the muscles and the tissues with oxygen, with blood. And that's why I like contrast. I like hot. The benefit, in my opinion, beyond the cold is when you get out. That's when the beauty happens. That's when it releases.
Right.
And your body just literally just floods itself with nutrients and it just flushes out lactic acid. I think that's the beauty of it. But again, icing acutely is not my thing.
Yeah, I was in Sweden and I got a chance to go to this awesome, they're big, a lot of the Scandinavian countries are really big on spas, but so there was you jumped into the sea. It was, I was visiting Ileko and they took us to this awesome place. You jumped into the sea. It was freezing. I mean, freezing. Like I told you, I hate cold. I thought I was going to die. So, but I made it back, climbed up, and then you go and get in their warm sauna. But you do that 3, 4, 5 times. And honestly, I've had where you did that and you felt good for a few minutes for several days. I mean, almost 4 to 5 days. I felt so much better. My joints,
Wow.
With a dude who's been an athlete my whole life. And rarely do I have where my joints don't feel bad, but for 4 to 5 days, I felt completely like I was a kid again. So there's something to that.
It's absolutely profound when you look at these, and that's where I learned Exos is big on that too. They have at all their facilities, whether it's Florida or Arizona or California, they have a hot pool and a cold pool right next to each other, so they can do the contrast with their athletes. When they do the NFL combines, you can fit 15 NFL linemen in there. So it's a pretty, to be able to for them to invest that much in 2 pools, it means something to me. You know what I mean? That they must really cherish that. That's not just like buying a $500 piece of equipment. That's a $60,000 water setup right there.
I know we have that at, I'm starting that new weightlifting program at Lenore Ryan. And so we have we have the same setup. We have the hot and the cold tub. So that's
Sweet.
one of the big and we have the rapid reboot. We have the Mark Pros, and so it's going to be really good because a lot of my athletes will be going with me, so they're actually going to be training for the 2024 Olympics. So it's like the best situation in America. So like pretty lucky.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What about I know we have a question on the Halo Neuroscience, the headphones. I've never touched.
I played with them, but I don't know enough about it I was telling the person, I don't know enough about it to like give feedback, but if they're able to truly tap into the brain, here's what I have learned is like, if you guys read that book Spark, if you haven't, everybody should read this book right here. Like Spark, shout out Gabriel is my buddy, but it's by John Ratty. He's from Rady. I don't know if it's Rady or Ratty, but I probably just murdered his name. But he graduated from Harvard, but it was where the study was done. It was done in Naperville, right outside of Chicago.
Oh, wow.
It was like a high school there. The PE teacher did this, and so they started having kids going working out before school early in the morning, and all of a sudden, like their test scores shot through the roof.
Yep. That was,
go ahead. What?
Oh, that was is one of the authors John Bierbauer too?
Yeah, I mean, he's not the author, but they talk about him in the book. The guy who wrote it talks about, and so it's amazing. Like and then it starts talking about, brain-derived growth factors and the hypothalamus and all the different elements that when you have activity, mainly it's cardiovascular because the original data was done obviously with rats, so you can't really have rats do bench press, but you can have them run on a wheel. So I would like to figure out I got a feeling that it would definitely work with weight training, weightlifting, anything to stimulate the brain and to get the blood flowing. But
have you guys seen pre and post walk brain scans? It's the most astounding thing you will ever see. The brain scan pre-walk is literally great. Nothing's happening. And then after the walk, it's lit up like a friggin' fireworks show. It's amazing. Exercise. It's amazing because we're always looked at as meatheads, as morons. Yet we've been onto this for years. For years. And imagine how great, and now schools got rid of PE. That's a whole nother subject.
It's a bad idea, man. Bad idea.
Well, and also just you take a kid who's, I'm watching right now, I'm sitting in this beautiful lake area and there's kids running around. Like if you get kids are out of school now because of quarantine, I guarantee you that if you don't have a video game system, they're running around, they're doing kids aren't meant to be sitting down for 8 hours a day. It's literally like they're meant to move. So you look at someone kicking our ass, it's the Nordic schools, man. They're out. They spend very little class time, tons of field trips. That's where kids learn. And that's why this study does not shock me at all. I'm going to buy that book.
Hey, check this out too. You're going to love this. So the same school, they started implementing it big time. And so then I think it's Naperville Central, the high school. It was not a private school either. So it's not a bunch of rich kids. It's a regular high school. And so then there was this big testing worldwide who wanted to compare the different countries. And so America entered somebody, then so did Japan, China, blah, blah, blah. And America as a whole failed miserably. But this school entered by themselves, just the school. They paid to enter, and they were number 1 worldwide in science and number 6 in math. And so worldwide, and only the Asian countries beat them in math. And so that was stereotypical, wasn't it? But anyway,
I'm not saying a word.
I'm just calling it ace and ace, man. My buddy Ben, who's from Vietnam, he's good at math. I mean, what do you? But so anyway, the school killed it. Yeah. Well, then no wonder you're rich already. You're gonna be super rich because you're Jewish.
Oh man, I knew it was gonna go there.
Oh god.
Yeah. I'm not gonna spend any of the money.
Hey, look at this though. See my bike? My little.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. That's why I did so well in school. I think I do that, then study much better every morning.
Always start out. I've always said start your day out with some kind of activity. Just do something. Man. Whether it's a walk, whether it's air squats, just do something. Get your blood moving and your brain flowing.
Yeah. I think walking now that's warmer, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you look at on the different perspective, you look at, kids before a test, how many kids are, I'd say excited in the wrong way with nervousness and stuff like that, where, we can only know so much, but I wonder if someone along those lines, or, ADD, ADHD, if walking before a test, or, working on the morning, if it's going to help excite.
It's in the book. Yes.
Is it? Oh, shit.
Yes. They talk about ADHD. They talk about depression. They talk about a lot of kids are now that we've implemented this whole no one left behind, which is why we stopped having PE. All of a sudden depression has skyrocketed, ADHD has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
All these things have, and so this book shows precisely that how not only does it show that it helped to counteract ADHD, but it also says why. It talks about the different components. So it's 100%. You should buy the book, Spark. And once again, I'm not sponsored, but that is I got nothing in it.
You need to start getting paid, man.
Seriously, by Spark this year.
Hey, I'm Jewish, man. I can help you out.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll need 60%. I'll need 60% of the cut, though.
Of course you will. Of course you will.
What about Mark? This one might. Well, I mean, we can all answer this, but Mark, you might better have a better. Yeah. Is an exo cert better bang for your buck than a USAW L1?
You know what? Here's the thing.
I don't know the exos.
You know what? Here's the deal. I think any program that you like its methodology. Again, the training methodology. It's just experience. So I don't believe in online certifications. I don't know about you guys, but I don't believe in NASM. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I believe it has to be, you have to go there. You have to experience it. It has to be demonstrative. I don't believe in taking an online proctored course and learning about movement, because you can't teach movement
no way.
online. Yeah. I don't think you can do that with a proctored. I've seen the NASM test. It's basically a basic physiology, kinesiology test. That does nothing to qualify a trainer. You need a test, and even CrossFit is a great experiential test. You need an organization that isn't based on an ABCD quiz, that's based on you actually coaching and actually doing it, like Travis's, which is the highest you can go, but he had to actually do it. He had to actually produce to get his level. What you have to do at Exos, which is really great, is they have you coach fellow coaches. So I was the idiot there. I'm the guy who's like the business owner. Obviously I have some background, but I'm a guy who doesn't. These guys were all one of the coaches from a couple coaches from the Major League Soccer, a couple NFL guys, and they're just broadening their base. And I'm there, and so I had to coach people who were experts, and then I was judged by other coaches on how I did. And I think that's what you need to do. So methodology is only as good as the delivery and as good as the instruction. And that's why I usually, and I say this, and I usually offend 99% of my friends who do make money as as NASM personal trainers, and most of my friends are really good trainers, but that happens to be the cert they have behind there. Because again, like Travis, you buy that vertical jump thing or whatever, it's Vertimax. These guys have to show credentials, right? So even though to us we look at NASM as it's a test, the mainstream looks at it like, oh my God, you're a certified trainer. So I would recommend the certification being experiential, and it's not going to be cheap. You're not going to be able to get it for under $1,000. I know I was probably all in, probably 30, 40K, to get everything. And it's going to cost money, but you're investing in knowledge. You're investing in what you can offer to your clients.
Yeah. Well, one of the first things I remember from Travis's book is, I'm taking, different, methods or philosophies and, creating his own, and obviously breaking his barrier with what he did with PAP as well. But at the same time, I can read it, and I'm going to learn, is I'm very analytical, and I can read and interpret shit well, and it's very clear cut and dry too. But being able to go to Travis's and go through that experience of whether it's just him coaching and cueing all of his kids through whether it's Olympic or powerlifting, whatever it is, I'm going to learn a shit ton in that moment
Oh yeah.
because of how hands-on it is.
You know, I'd also like to say that you can't put a letter behind apprenticeships. Like, for example, there's a guy I'm friends with. His name's Andrew, and he actually coached under Dr. Stu and L, who's he's from Z Health to all these different friggin' things. He worked there for 2 years. I'd rather be trained by Andrew than someone who has, because he literally was shadowing a guy. So it's like back in the day, you didn't have degrees, you didn't have letters, you had apprenticeships. Like if you want to be a blacksmith, you went and apprenticed. If you want to be a plumber, you did that. If you want to be an accountant, you went and you learned under that. So there's nothing wrong with someone who simply has who has an internship or an apprenticeship or a mentorship with somebody who's really good. So if someone's mentoring under Dr. Starrett or someone's mentoring under Travis or Bryce or whoever, they can be just as good because they're basically like a clone of that expert who's going to put their own spin on their, obviously on what they do.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. I think if you had to choose anything, it would be a mentorship or apprenticeship, whatever you want to call it, because that I've learned the majority of stuff from hanging around people like Joe Ken or Louis Simmons or Mark or or Lane Norton, or it's my buddies that I've learned the most from, because I happen my buddies happen to be in this field. Just obviously I'm not going to probably make any friends outside of here because I don't do anything else, but Stu McGill came to my gym and just hung out for a day and like went over things like
so good.
It's so good. And like he showed me how to do the reverse hyper. Like if you're going to do the reverse hyper, he showed me the Stu McGill way. And like, man, that's priceless. And so, but I will say this, I think knowing the very basics of science is important, because then you don't get fooled, because there's a lot of crap out there. So knowing the basics of physiology, I mean, literally, I could teach you probably in a day, like the basics of physiology, the basics of physics, basics of biomechanics, so no one can fool you. Because if you don't know how biomechanics work, then someone can say, hey, swing the bar way out in front of you, and that's the best way to do it, and you'd be like, oh, awesome. But I know good and well that's not true. And so just the basics. But then hands-on apprenticeship, I would say it goes in this order. I would say apprenticeship 1, 2, something that teaches you like the real deal how to do it, and then 3 would be the basics of science.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
It's I don't know how many times we had the conversation, kind of like Mark just did, where it's like if some of the places I've been where someone can regurgitate the book verbatim, like clear cut and dry, can say everything from the book, and then you watch him coach, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
I
heard a kid like that.
Yeah. There's a method of coaching. You need to be able to deliver the advice. You need to be able to get the kids, the kids need to have fun too. It depends how you're training. Like obviously if you're someone who wants to go to the Olympics, they're self-motivated. They're going to get it done. But if you're teaching a group, let's say like this is the thing, if you're teaching team sports, I'm sure a lot of people who watch this do, you have first team, second team, and third team. And there's a huge difference. The first team, you don't have to do anything. They do it themselves. You give them a list, you show them once, and they're off. The second team and the third team is that's when you see who the real coach is. When you're coaching the kids who don't really want to be there, whose parents are either forcing them to play or who just aren't very genetically gifted. That's the coach. That's the guy who can influence those third team players to be their best. And that's when you got it. When you can turn a third team into a legit second or first team.
Yep.
Or just like teach them the things that sport is a whole lot more than just being like good at that sport. Like for example, my buddy David Phillips, who now he's worked with NASA, and now he's like one of the leaders at West Point, and like that guy was the third team guy. However, that guy has become a whole lot more than I did. Like he's led our nation. Now he's on his way to being a general. For the military. And he went to West Point, by the way. Then he went to NASA. He actually became a legitimate rocket scientist, like a legit thing. And it's hard to believe. But like that dude was the second or third team, and so some coach out there had to encourage that guy and like had to like say, teach him the principles of perseverance, working hard, putting the team first. There's so much more to sports than just being the best. Like shit, man. Like if you're in basketball, there's only 5 of the starters. There's only 5, and there's 15. That means 2/3 of the team is not the best. They're not the starting 5. So you got to find out how to make sports applicable to those 2/3, because that's the majority. Like, let those kids get something that they can take with the rest of their lives to make them better human beings too. So there's that point.
The chances of going pro are extremely slim. It's the life lessons learned from sport that'll take them the rest of their life. And I don't know about you guys, but I learned more as captain of the football team than I ever learned in 4 years of university.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's something that I use every single day of my life. And if we can pass that on to these kids and show them a way to overcome some things, like there's so many. I saw a kid, I didn't even coach him, but there was a kid who started going to my boxing gym, this awkward redheaded kid, awkward ginger, and he was just an awkward kid, and he used to get picked on, and like a year and a half after starting training, the kid was sparring. He was like 13, sparring 16-year-olds, like getting in the mix, and like we had to, but like I don't know, I was proud of this, but an Instagram surfaced of a bully trying to pick on him. He knocked this kid the fuck out, and I was like. And I went up to him afterwards, and he's like, "I'm sorry, Mark," because I was kind of helping out at the gym, and I'm like, "Bro, I'm so proud of you, man. Just don't record it next time, dummy."
Yeah.
But yeah, but the sport. But think about the self-esteem issues, all these things that kids deal with day to day. You give them a purpose, you give them a reason, you give them exercise, you give them athletics, you help them improve their physique, their mindset. All the hormones in the brain that get invoked during training, and that's what coaches are responsible for. It's not just producing athletes, it's producing good human beings.
Yeah, and if you're a high school coach, the majority of what you're doing is that right there. Like you're not going to get that many D1 athletes. If you're at a pretty decent school, then you might get 1 or 2 a year. So at best. And so the majority of your kids are going to be the ones who are just going to teach them how to live a better life and go on and move forwards in life and do better there. Honestly, man, some of the kids I'm the most proud of that I've worked with are the ones who did not kill it in their sports. Like you got Adi Zucker, she's the owner of Working Against Gravity. She was a good weightlifter, but she was not going to the Olympics. But sure has built an awesome business. Or like Greg Knuckles, he was a good powerlifter though. He was like one of the top. But now he's like been on the cover of Forbes magazine for his website.
Wow.
Or man, so like it's those kids and those athletes who've gone on to do awesome things with it, or Hayden Bowe with Steffi Cohen, down there killing it with hybrid. And so like it's those kids that I'm most proud of, and like I'm proud of my athletes who've killed it too. But my point being is that like it's a whole lot more than just the ones who go to the Olympics, because there's not that many, man. There's 4 boys and 4 girls that's going to go, for America. That means the majority is not.
And it's like, and I think you guys hit it best. It's the the hidden gems I'd say of strength and conditioning, where obviously people want to hit PRs and personal best, but at the same time the lifelong effect you're going to have on a kid over time when it comes to having the perseverance or facing adversity, anything along those lines, you're going to have more of an effect on those kids than the D1 or exceptional athletes.
Totally.
Absolutely.
But I think on the other end, you look at Crystal's son, being able to.
Yeah, he's the other end of that. He is. He's going to Olympics. That
makes no scientific sense.
No,
but
he doesn't.
The crazy thing is that it is an individualized sport, but you have your team within that. At MASH, and seeing like that video was unbelievable. The time period that went by.
Yeah.
Which one? I mean, I've seen 400 of
it was the one that was. It had basically, was it 3 or 4 years time?
Wow.
I can't remember exactly how much time was.
Oh, you talking about where I did the videos of him? Like it was like 4 years of him being with me. The changes, it's been crazy.
It was insane, but at the same time, in that sport, how do you keep a kid so focused on that process? That's a shit ton of time.
That's a great question.
in retrospect, he's still got years ahead of him too. So how do you
Yeah.
keep him on that track?
That's a very good question. And the key is like having fun. Is that if any weightlifting coach is listening right now, a big mistake that they make in America is pretending you're a Russian coach or pretending you're a Chinese coach and trying to run this, we're not going to have any music and we're not going to have any fun. We're going to do it like the Russians do. I don't care about the Russians. They're on drugs. I don't care. It's not apples to apples. Let Morgan take drugs and see what happens. He'll wipe that. Yes. So like we're gonna have fun, man. Like we laugh a lot, we joke a lot. We go, if I see my kids are doing really well, we might go off the script a bit and go heavy. I mean, we're going to have a good time. And here's the thing too: when I see them taking it too seriously too soon, like I've had this conversation with Morgan multiple times, and I'm sure it's going to be multiple more. I see him getting too serious to the point where he's getting frustrated on a daily basis because he's focusing on some number or breaking a world record. And I have to sit him down. I'm like, Morgan, you're going to start hating the sport before we even make it to the Olympics. It's, just focus on the process and laugh every day. That's a key, man. That is a key. Laughing and joking every single day because, weightlifting is this: snatch, clean and jerk, squat, repeat every dang day. That will drive you crazy. And so the key is we got to have fun. We go out and we play basketball. We have a basketball go outside and we joke around and I nip it in the bud when I see them getting frustrated. We literally have, we've got Morgan, we have Ryan, we have Hannah, we have Mallory, we have, I'm sure I'm going to forget somebody now. And they're going to hear it. Why didn't you say my name? But my point being is that there's multiple people who have a good chance at 2024. So I have this conversation almost weekly. I set them down and be like, look, chill. You're going to hate that. I watched a girl, you guys. We were in Thailand, and I watched it because, we're at the end of it now. We're at the end of the quad. And pretty much, except for one or two people, the team has been decided. And I watched one of the older team members, it wasn't one of mine, lose her mind. She's like, I quit. I hate the sport. You'll never see me again. I'm not coming back. She lost her mind. Like I saw it. And right then I was like, I will not let my kids get like this to the point where they hate it. I don't want them to leave the sport hating it. I want them to leave it loving it. So that's how it's just, we're going to have a good time and we joke and we celebrate every step along the way. Some coaches will be like, kid will set a 3-rep max clean from blocks. And they're like, yeah, I don't care. I try to celebrate every single step along the way because it's such a long journey. I want to celebrate that child. They're still children to me. He's 16. He's a child.
Always.
And so I'm going to celebrate each step along the way. So anyway.
Absolutely.
I know
that was great. Yeah.
In regards to, I'd say switching topics a little bit. In regards to your program, Travis, with the PAP for, we'll say most know about it or understand it. I know reading about it and then listening to some videos, it's funny how you're like, I basically followed everything to a T of Louis, and then I just got to keep going.
Yeah.
But for people to understand, an easy example is, if you're going to squat, we'll say, I think the example you used was 445. You're going to walk it out 445, sit there for 15 seconds, rack it, rest. Rest is going to be dependent on every other person, but
yeah,
you go to your 405
60 seconds.
You're gonna smash it, and I think people screw it up a lot in that phase of PAP where they do it and they either wait too long, they wait too little, but kind of going to that technology side, you can start to manipulate their time and rest. But when it comes to it, how do you build that into your guys' programs? Is that constant right away, or is that after a GPP or, I'd say a general acclimation phase?
Yeah, after they do accumulation, normally they're super ready to set some PRs, and so like we'll do it then. But like it's depending on how we do it. So we use post activation periodization a lot of ways. Like for example, like the one you're talking is like if someone say squats 400, yeah, we'll work up to like 110%, hold it, rack
Yep.
it, wait 60 seconds, and then beat it by 5 or 10 pounds. And now almost 90% of the time they're going to set that record. And so, but there's way more strategic ways, and there's ways I think that work even better. Like what I used to do is I would do Louis Simmons stuff. So let's say that he would say, go 50% bar weight and blue bands or whatever. And so like, and what I would do it, but I was also watching videos of Chuck maxing out with it. And I'm like, all right. So I would see whatever, he was my competitor. So I'd see what he was doing. I'd beat him. And then, I would beat him in practice. It's just who I am. I'm going to try to win. And so, but then I was like, what if I take these bands off and keep going up? And then all of a sudden I started setting PRs on the regular. And I'm like, oh, wow. And so like, I believe bands is the best way, because think about this. If the blue bands are about, let's say, I think on average they're like 100 pounds each, maybe 120. And so if you put, let's say your max is 700, and you go up to 550 bar weight, plus the band, so you're at 750 now. And so, but at the bottom, it deloads almost to 550, so you can still easily get that weight. Take them off, going up. And so because your body now is firing for 750. However, you're going to go 710, set a PR. And so it was like clockwork. I did that for months, where my squat just went boom, 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 boom. But then we use it in multiple ways. Like in weightlifting, we do like waves. So we'll use it not just to PR, but for efficiency. So let's say that our goal is like a transmutation phase. And so the main thing is like getting efficient reps in. So we'll hit like 85 or 90% for one, and then we'll do our doubles at 80%, and then we'll go back and forth like that. And so, yeah, we're still hitting some decent singles, but nothing that's going to kill us, but it's going to make us better at those 80s and 83% reps. So we use it for that. We use it for my football players. We'll push a heavy sled, wait 30 to 60 seconds, do a 10-yard sprint, or do a heavy squat, do a vertical leap. We do a lot of like what the French contrast method would be. So like, I do it a little differently though now. So like what I do is I work up to 1 RM at a set, velocity. So I work up to a 1 RM as long as it's faster than 0.5 meters per second. So nothing that's going to fatigue me. However, it's going to give me potentiation for what I'm about to do. So then I'll drop down to like 70% on that day, and then I'll do like a 70% single. Then I'll do a weighted jump at like 20%, and then I'll do a non-weighted jump, and then I'll do an assisted jump where you use bands from the top. So I go now. French contrast is a little different. Like they'll go the squat, then they'll go unweighted jump, weighted jump, assisted. So they go kind of like that. I go from the slowest to fastest, and I think that works a little bit better. But I need to do studies. It just so far it has gone better for me. And so anyway, there's a bunch of ways I use it.
Oh, it's crazy, and I love using it. And even with like Mark, when we made the program for your daughter, there's parts of that in there as well.
Yes, absolutely.
God forbid she's probably the strongest girl at that age I've probably ever seen.
The funny thing is we don't train for strength, and half the time I'm just trying not to lose it due to the seasons. But so it's unique.
How tall is she?
It's a great system. She's 5'4", man. I don't know who the dad is. I don't know. She'll get mad when I say she's prepubescent still. So she hasn't, because I believe that girls are they're hitting puberty too early because of all the environmental shit out there.
I think you're right.
Our kids haven't drank regular water. We have this filter system, and all their food's good, and they eat whole foods. And her friends were all having their periods like 9, 10 years old. And, the doctor said when she was 9, she's a bigger girl, thick and muscular because she lifts. And they're like, oh, she'll have her period within a year. And fast forward 4 years, and I'm still like, okay. So she just had her physical the other day. The doctor's like, not worried, man. Until she's 16, we don't care. And it's actually a really good sign, but that means she's not even close to her height potential. I mean, she'll be at least 5'8", 5'9", which
She
is
can be
taller than
than
me.
you.
Yeah, that's pretty sad and pathetic. But my family, my brother's 6'1", and my grandfather was 6'1". My father was almost 6 feet tall. I'm the token midget of the
Yeah, me
family.
too.
So yeah, she's gonna definitely get those genes. Yeah, it's interesting to see. But with my daughter, we started. Loading was a 2-year process before we even got into loading. We started with goblet squats and planks and wall facing deadlifts and everything to basically qualify her for those lifts, and my son as well. So it's not like we just went in and put her under, like I said earlier, we didn't just go, here's 225, squat it. Here's 185, pull it. We went in there and we had a methodical approach to building this up. So, and that's where people, and even if you're training a 15-year-old, you don't just go in and throw them doing back squats. And that's where a lot of trainers, I see it at the gym all the time. You can hire a trainer at 14 years old at Lifetime Fitness. And these trainers do not know how to train kids. They put them on leg extensions. Don't get me started on leg extensions in kids, especially athletes. So, I mean, that's the issue, is that the experience, and it's again, like, I don't blame parents, because our industry has given us a bad name.
Yeah.
Training children. We've really done a disservice to children by letting unqualified trainers train them.
I know, man.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a little bit more of governing of that. I don't know who. I don't want the government to necessarily,
No.
but dang, man, like things. I think one of the things that I started this whole thing called Strength University, where it's like an online platform for coaches.
Yeah.
What triggered that was just all these crazy videos of these kids out there doing terrible squats, terrible cleans. I'm like, this has got to stop. Like, because let me tell you this: if someone did that to my son, that's their ass. Like, that is it. Like, I'm going to that. It's going to be a bad day at school. Daddy's going to jail, but that coach will be done. And so, but like, anyway, so that's what triggered me wanting to change it. Like, I'm so sick of it. Like, seeing people like, and it's crazy because like, if someone like looks good and they're really good at social media, next thing you know, they're popular, and like, and people are like, oh, they know, they have 30,000 followers, so they must know. No, they don't know shit. They just are good at social media, and so.
And
well, we see that in all the realms, and we've seen that with a lot of, like, we've been using mini bands on the strength side and the performance side for years, and nothing makes me more upset than a really attractive female destroying how you actually use mini bands. I think Bryce has been on the other end of me ranting about that.
I like your band videos that you made during this whole like lockdown. Yeah. Yep.
They're not weights at all. They're not. I mean, the thing is that I always say, people are like, well, you're back to doing weights. I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, well, why? I'm like, well, there's a difference between, it works and it's optimal,
Right.
And
but
you're never gonna, obviously you only have the, the one plane with weights, whereas you can do horizontal and vertical plane with bands, but there's still a difference. You can't load a band's not going to load you 300 pounds.
No.
It's not going to it's not going to do a rest pause set or a drop set or an intensity set. So from hypertrophy to strength training, it'll get the job done if you have to. But I mean, let's be real here, man. I'm a pro bodybuilder. I can't win shows, playing with rubber bands.
Hey, when are you going to compete again?
December 12th is my my pro card expired. Good news is I'm old now, so I can get a master's pro card, which means that hopefully everybody else my age who's good has died. So I have a
One
chance.
died. Some guy died, I guess, in the last couple of days.
Yeah, I guess that was hope. That was so distasteful of me. Yeah, so we I didn't even realize. Yeah, it's a bad time to say that. But we did have a guy.
It's okay.
He's only 30 years old. Luke Sango. He died. Reportedly, I'm 90% sure from my source it's a suicide. Which I just did a video today, which was met with mixed reactions. You're going to see a lot of this from people who, you have these lockdowns and people forced inside and their life turned upside down. Maybe they're losing money. Suicides are going up dramatically. So I really think that we need to pay attention to mental health right now more than ever. And I don't know if that's why he did it. I'm not even quite sure 100% he did commit suicide, but if he did, it's definitely, it's not going to be the first. It's not going to be the first.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's sad. He did. But you know, the media is going to go out, and the first thing people say is it's the steroids, it's this, it's that. No, you know what? Bodybuilders have mental issues too. We get depressed too. You know, we have congenital issues too. It doesn't always have to be steroids. You can die of other causes if you're on steroids. It's like
Lots of others.
it's just how it is. You see a guy with muscle or a guy who's big, and you probably went through it when you were in your payday powerlifting. I could lift that much if I took as much as you. It's like,
Go take
I know
it.
you
Go
couldn't.
take it and find
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A
Prove me
lot of
wrong.
people I beat thought the same thing. So go try it.
Yep.
Jesus. And then Mark, you can actually, I'll be interested to hear your point on this too. What is the process you use to gauge when someone to gauge what is someone's optimal recovery time for PAP or just recovery in general between lifts?
You know, Travis might be better, but you can usually tell with questions. I mean, you can usually just ask the athlete how they're feeling, how they slept, a lot of things, a lot of cues, and also through their warm-ups. But I mean, Travis has a much more scientific approach to things because this is what he does. You know,
Yeah.
how do you, Travis? How do you determine recovery rates?
Well, for post-activation potentiation, what happens the minute you're done doing the heavier lift is like potentiation is the highest, but so is fatigue. And so it's going to meet, you know, it depends on how intense. That's why I love bands because they deload, you know, I think you can recover a bit faster, but like somewhere around 60 seconds is what I found. But you can look at heart rates too and see like, you know, once you get the heart rate back down to like a kind of a normal level, then you can kind of go, but you don't want to go too long. Like you start waiting 2-3 minutes, you're going to lose that potentiation. So
yeah,
like,
I always go with when you feel like you're ready.
Yeah.
I think and also it also depends a lot on the intensity of the activity just performed.
Yeah, if you just do a walkout, man, 30 seconds is enough because, like, you know, your muscles didn't go through any kind of eccentric contraction, so you're good. But like bands, I would say 30 seconds if you did a walkout. If you did bands, you know, 60 seconds, maybe a little bit more, depending on how in shape or what's your work capacity like. But normally, I would wait 60 seconds is what I would do. You know, but like if you're not in good shape, you could go, I guess, 90 seconds. But and then as far as how do I judge on a day-to-day basis, I really like using velocity to determine. What I do now is like my athletes, if you time them, you know, you set the tool to measure 85% on a daily basis, and you start to see, you know, where's their, you know, baseline. And then if all of a sudden one day they come in and they're 10% slower, that based on what Brian Mann said, who's like the dude who's done the most research on it, at that point you should stop everything, and then that would be a good time to go bodybuild, which is his words exactly, like, because then it can help, you know, prime the endocrine system and get it back flowing the way you want it. So that's what I would look. You could use that, or invest in Omega Wave, and then you'll know for sure. Then you'll know, because, you know, when you talk about recovery, like there's multiple, you know, avenues. There's energy systems, there's the autonomic nervous system, and then there's the CNS. And so like that would tell you all three. And so, you know, it depends on the level. Like, you know, if you're just training the average Joe, like you don't need all that. I would still use velocity personally, but you know, if you're training elite athletes or you want to train elite athletes, you might want to invest in both those, velocity and Omega Wave.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
I would like to hear is Leanne, is she still listening? I wonder if she uses the GPS. You know, a lot of these bigger.
Player tag, even the school.
I'm here. I'm still listening.
Do you guys use like the GPS systems down in Arizona?
Yes and no. So I'll start my video. We have Catapult for football.
Right.
We used to have Catapult for soccer. We used to have Catapult for men's basketball, but those contracts expired basically. So basketball is looking at Polar. Soccer last year went with First Beat. So we have a mixed match of what we have going on.
Right. Yeah. We used what is that? Player Tech at one of the schools that we do their programming, and it's unreal. I mean, seeing the data is the easy part, but getting people to, and the coach was phenomenal about this, is, seeing the work ratio throughout that entire week. And it's like, oh shit, Thursday is supposed to be a walkthrough, and our starters are sprinting the most during that time, but also being able to plan, I'd say, the most efficient conditioning program based on
That's awesome.
the energy expenditure, and obviously thank God for research and computers. But being able to utilize that, it changed. You see it all the time on social media. 300-yard shuttles, 100-yard sprints, 110s. We can go down a list where everyone's looking for that mental escape for, I'd say, to make it hard. When in reality, a lot of the sports, there's finite ways you can do it if you have the details and the actual data. We use it all the time at the school. It's fucking phenomenal.
It's all about optimal, man. It's like this whole, I'm going to beat them down. I'll show them. I'll make them tough. Like, man, you didn't need to make me tough. Like when I was a football player, that's the last thing I needed. Like,
Yep.
You know what? I needed optimal levels of performance. And so I would say if there's a strength coach listening to this, or that's going to listen to this, you can make a really good living by mastering the GPS systems. And I believe if you get into athlete testing, focusing on velocity-based training, focusing on something like Omega Wave or any of the or the GPS, you could what was the dude Leanne that worked with House? That's his main thing is GPS. He was an Arizona guy too. He played at Arizona State. I'm blanking. Oh, I know you know him. He was Coach Ken's assistant the whole time. I know. What'd you say? What'd you say? No. Younger guy. He's all he did was GPS at the end. Anyway, so I wish Coach Ken was on here. I'm totally blanking out. Anyway, so that's his living. What?
Yeah.
At the Panthers with him, or
yeah, he was with the Panthers the entire time.
Oh, Gooch.
What? Who?
Not Gooch.
No, it was the white guy. He was a defensive back, Arizona State.
Now I'm drawing blank too.
His girlfriend is a weightlifter. Yeah. Anyway, or it might be a wife now. Anyway, so he's making his entire living just from GPS. They've really hired GPS people to which is awesome because you got a dude like Cam Newton. You don't want to redline Cam Newton or or whoever you think's a good football player. You don't want to redline that athlete or any of your starters and have them going into Sunday beaten up. That's just retarded, and that's you being a dummy.
But but like you said, I think it's still, I'd say, a strong notion of training today is, basically beating kids into the ground, not literally, figuratively.
Yeah.
The amount of times I get asked, we want our son to be white in the face. It's so you want him to do.
Yeah. Shut up.
Well, that's a good. It's no, it's not. It's optimal planning and having a, whether it's linear, undulating, whatever it is, but having a plan.
I tell you. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Nowadays, I tell parents whatever they want to hear, and I don't do any of it. I'm like, what do you want me to say about you? So you let your son come here, or your son or daughter come to me, and I'll make them champions. Okay, and I repeat it back. I'm like, now get out of here. I got you. Yeah, I never. You know what? There was a kid one time. It was my most favorite moment. This poor kid. He was 11 years old and had to get Tommy John syndrome at 11. And and the mom brought him to me and told me, oh, we're going to have to get Tommy John syndrome. And in my brain, I was thinking, should I tell her what I really want to say? And all of a sudden it just came out. I'm like, you do know this is your fault. This is you showcasing your 11-year-old son because and you justifying it, saying that because colleges are looking at your 11-year-old. No college is looking at your 11-year-old son here in Davie County. No. In nowhere, North Carolina, too. We're not in Florida. We are in, the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. That's a lie. You are showcasing your son to your family or to your friends. And, it felt so good to say the truth. Anyway, but she quit, of course. But I didn't regret saying it.
No. There's a lot of things, and I think a lot of the parents were raised in. I mean, I was raised in a time when water was a treat. You know, you had to earn water. When we literally had 2 kids drop out my senior year from heat stroke, in football, and that's the mentality that a lot of these parents have, because they grew up in that generation or the pre-smart generation. But I see a lot of these coaches are idiots too.
Yeah.
So they're just, it's banged into them that unless your kid hates life, unless they're suffering, unless they're throwing up,
Stupid.
that they're not making progress. But honestly, that just means you're not going to, it's going to take you longer to recover. And you're going to hate life. Like you said, like, you got to make it fun. And that was the best thing
Yeah.
you said this whole thing. You said a lot of great things, but the biggest take home, I think, from this whole thing isn't what certs to get, isn't about these cool little velocity training things. It's about, you got to make the coaching fun for the kids.
Absolutely, man.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yep.
And we'll end it so I don't take up everyone's day. But some of the shit I didn't even get to.
It was good.
Guess we'll have to do a round 2.
Yeah,
Please.
probably.
A sequel.
But I think you guys, I mean, obviously I know Mark personally, and when it came to the mentorship talk and everything along those lines, like, I know I can basically go to him and ask him anything, and it's much appreciated. And same thing, obviously I'm sure Travis, I don't know how many people reach out to you on a daily basis. Same with Mark. But it's, being able to go back to people and, ask those kind of questions, or, take the time like both you guys did and everyone else on here today. Like, I'm excited because I'll get Coach Blend in a couple weeks. So that makes me excited too. So for me, it's, it's such a different world from 5 years ago when it comes to coaching, whether it's dealing with people, sales, whatever it is, but the old adage, I'd say the old ways are still some of the best ways. Like, you look at the conjugate system, Louis Simmons, the MASH method, whatever periodization scheme, where those are going to hold true. And it's, the same thing with velocity, and God knows how long it's been around now. I can't even remember, but it's funny how all this shit comes together and separates itself. But, at the end of the day, the people are going to be, the people you surround yourself with are going to be the people that are with you the whole time. And, Mark, thank you for your time. Travis, thank you for your time. I probably have 100 more questions to ask, but it's been an hour and a half, and I don't want to take up everyone's time because I know Mark is hungry. I can see him needing an outright bar right now to feed him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
I think my wife might be cooking tonight, so I think I might be in for a treat.
Well, let me say this. Mark doesn't sponsor me anymore. Those outright bars are the real deal. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, he should, because I talk about outright more than he does. But, like, I love those outright bars.
Whatever you need, you just let me know.
Well, we killed them. My wife and I bought a bag of them, like, maybe 3 days ago. Gone.
Oh, yeah.
I'll send you out some of the new cookies. Both of y'all. I'll send you guys out some of the new flavors and everything.
Awesome.
No problem. No problem.
So good. But no, gentlemen, I don't want to take up any more of your time and everyone else. Honestly, I appreciate everything from both of you. And obviously, I look up to both of you. And it's a mutual respect. And I appreciate everything that you guys are willing to do today and spend time away from your families.
It's good seeing my old buddy.
Thank you so much.
So, yeah.
Likewise. Both of you guys, really old buddies.
All right, man.
You're a really old buddy. Like, you're old.
You're my old Jewish buddy, so it's cool.
Everybody needs one.
Yeah, seriously. You're my good luck Jewish buddy. So.
Well, thank you so much, man. Thanks for having me, Bryce.
Bye-bye.
I appreciate it, guys. Everyone else, have a good day. Travis, I thank you. Mark, thank you as well. And I'll see you in a couple weeks, Coach Blinn.
All right. Yeah, see you, Leanne.
Oh, I appreciate it, Travis. Thank you. See you. And